Welcome to Cowbell Off Campus. I'm your host, Landon Young, along with my co host, Addison Thigpen. If you can't already tell, our voices are slightly deeper than usual this morning. If this ever happens, or you hear the sip of the coffee, that means that we woke up early on Thursday and we recorded that morning, literally. So today we're going to recap the Memphis game, go over the Arizona Wildcats, preview them, and then we'll of course pick our SEC picks of the week. But Addison, we had football back on this weekend, and boy, was it a great opening weekend of college football. What games were you watching?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, as many as I could. But now I'm gonna be. You know what's crazy about that? I didn't actually get to sit down and watch the OM game. Out of all the football that I did watch this weekend, I didn't even watch them play, so I don't really know anything about them. But
No, that's a good.
obviously,
I'm glad you brought that up. They didn't look great. I mean, 28-10 is not a great score against Troy,
right?
but Jackson Dart, the starting quarterback over Luke Altmaier, which was not surprising to me at all, but
Yeah,
he overthrew a lot of receivers, like over and
right.
over again. And I don't. I think Lane Kiffin's offense will keep them in games that they're not supposed to be in this year, but
Mhm.
they're not nearly as talented as they were last year.
Right, right. I heard something that said that Luke was supposed to start this or is going to start this week because Jackson started last week. Like that that
You
Lane
know,
was
flip
doing
flop.
like a yeah, that's what I heard. I don't know how true that is. I think that's such a weird. I've heard a couple other coaches are doing that. Like Dabo said he was doing it at Clemson. That's just weird to me. I don't think
I'll
that
tell
that's
you
like a
what,
good
I've
play to
never
start.
seen that work.
Yeah, I me neither. I don't think it ever does. So
I mean, just thinking of like Tyler Russell, Dak days, even that was hard.
yeah, absolutely. Like yeah, when they try to do the dual QB system, I mean they tried it at OM a couple years ago with that fast kid they had. I can't even think of his name right now. With
Plumley,
Corral, Plumlee. Yeah, yeah,
bro,
yeah.
that kid went off this weekend.
I didn't see him play.
He
Where's he
he's
even at now?
he's at UCF with Gus Malzahn.
Oh, okay.
Bro threw for 380 yards and ran for 160.
There you go. There you go. He's doing all right. He's doing all
Put
right.
up over 400 yards by himself.
That's crazy.
I mean, there was another quarterback that also put up 400 yards by himself this weekend, but we'll talk about him in just a second.
Yeah, absolutely
Um,
will.
so thoughts on the weekend? Any other games that you wanted to hit on?
I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously the LSU game was just absolutely crazy.
Wow.
What an absolute game. I feel like
Wow.
that's something we'll be talking about for a while. Ohio State was a great game.
It
The
was.
Florida game. I mean, the Florida. I felt like Florida played really well. Dan Mullen's getting a ton of slack for not starting that quarterback because man, did he not look great and just super athletic.
Yeah.
I feel like that dude looked like what Dan wanted in a QB. So it's crazy to me to know that he wasn't starting him.
Dude, Scott Strickland woke up on Sunday morning and was immediately a genius for hiring Billy Napier.
Oh yeah.
When LSU had their chance to get him too, and man, that looks stupid after this weekend because Billy Napier's offense was moving. I think Florida's a whole lot better this year than they were last year.
I do too. I do too.
Well, let's recap our game from this past weekend. I assume that you were able to watch every snap of every second, even though that we went deep into the early morning of
Yeah.
Sunday. Because I'll tell you how our night went. We got to the game, of course, around 6, and game started, and of course we got off to that hot start, and we stayed there after the lightning delay started for probably 30, 45 minutes, and then we started reading stuff on Twitter that was saying like this could last hours. And we were like, oh
Yeah.
man. So we left and we went back to our friend's house, and then we sat there for about 30, 45 minutes watching the Florida game. And then they said we'll resume play in 30 minutes. So we got back in the car, went back to Davis Wade, and watched the rest of it. So it was a good night.
There you
But
go.
give me your general thoughts on the 2022 Mississippi State football team.
Yeah, I mean, a good start. I think my prediction was what 42-21. I think at the end of the day, and it was a 49-23 game, so pretty close, better than I thought. I'm definitely not disappointed in the team at all. I think we look good offensively and defensively. I do think towards the end we started getting a little sloppy. Obviously started strong, and then the end it just felt like things weren't really. I don't know. Execution was down. It didn't necessarily feel like Memphis was just outplaying us. I will say one thing I noticed in the one thing I did notice in the second half there was that Memphis did change their offense. They kind of went more up tempo. And that did affect us for a minute. But one thing Zach was able to do is kind of change our defense up. I literally watched our scheme change on the field after we saw Memphis change. And that was kind of cool to see.
Let me go ahead and say not everyone noticed that, but you would notice that.
Yeah. I love that kind of stuff. That's one thing about Zach's defense that I love. I mean, he lines up in a 3-3-5 and it looks like a 4-4-3 or something. Like it always looks super unique. And watching that change on the field with Jet running it, and you know, I know you sent me a text saying Jet White is the new Chris White, or Jet Johnson is the new Chris White, and that's very, very true. I mean, he was just the general out there. So,
dude. So speaking of that defense and the linebackers, they look massive. Those
they really do.
Those linebackers look like the biggest linebackers we've had in a long time. Like,
yeah, they do.
And Jed Johnson, you're right, is a stud, and he's just moving around. But Tyrus Wheat's potential and his ceiling is huge.
Right, and it's crazy that you say that because you think about like when we hear Aaron Brule was transferring, it was like, what, like what's going on? That's crazy to me because he was such a stud for us. Thought he was going to be the dude this year, and now you see guys like Tyrus Wheat, Jed Johnson. I mean, I don't know. It's just good to know we've had that depth, and I feel like we've kind of still got that on the defensive side right now. Yeah.
Do you think that the game would have turned out differently if there hadn't been a 2-hour lightning delay?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm surprised that we were able to keep the momentum we did after the lightning delay because I mean we were driving on them. Our defense was lights out. Our offense was running exactly like we wanted it to, long, sustained, good drives, and then we had to, take 2 hours, literally in the middle of one of our drives to just, I think it was like second down after we'd made like a 4 or 5 yard pass too. So like literally in the middle of our drive, just had to call it quits, and yeah, that's tough to do, tough to come back from.
Dude, the crowd was live too. Like for an opening game against AAC school, like that, it was. I think they ended up saying that there was 56,000 fans there, which is a great turnout for a first game.
Oh yeah,
and it of course everyone left after the lightning delay, but man, it was. If I agree, I think if that hadn't happened, we would have laid it on them. And I'm not so sure our defense would have slacked off as much as they did because, I mean, they were playing at 12:15 in the morning.
Right.
Which they'll be doing that this weekend. So maybe that was good practice. And the Lord was looking out for our team. So a couple just quick thoughts, and I'd love to hear what you think about it. But just talking about switching gears, talking about the offense, let me tell you this. The scheme, Mike Leach's scheme, that's not a cuss word anymore. I want to be a part of a scheme that throws for 450 yards a game.
I do too.
I don't care if Will Rogers doesn't get the credit he deserves, because that man's throwing for 450 yards and he's doing it well. So what thoughts on the scheme, the offensive scheme this past weekend?
Yeah, so he's throwing for 450 yards on an average of 9 yards a throw, which is ridiculous.
That's amazing.
If you want to talk bad about the scheme, if you want to talk bad about Will Rogers, then we can. I'll even let people talk bad about the fact that a lot of those passes are dump passes, right? And that's something that they can say. But you can't really say that when he's averaging 9 yards a throw on 49 throws in a game. That's ridiculous, you know. So. You really can't take anything away from the kid. I mean, he had a fantastic game. I feel like he came out, he was making good decisions. He was quick. He was super, super quick. I felt like, I mean, it was like even his dump down decision was made in like, you could see his eyes go to like 2 different reads, and he could just read the defense quickly and then he would dump it.
Yeah.
I feel like last year that read was taking a whole extra 3 seconds, or
to where it was too late. Seconds. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And on top of that, like with the scheme this weekend, I mean, we ran the ball 34 times. Well, I think a couple of those might have been like sacks, but so we ran the ball close to 30 times in an opening game. And like, we've never, I think we've only done that like one other time since Mike Leach has been the coach here. So like, that's
Leach's, that stat, I know what you're talking about. That stat, Leach, that's in Leach's tenure of coaching period. So that's the second most he's ever run ever.
Wow, which is good for me, and I think fans would love to see that, because that just shows that like Leach realizes that, hey, we do need to run the ball a little bit to get these defenses to change their schemes. That way we can open up the pass. I think that's massive. Number one, we'll be able to get good running back talent. But number two, I mean, it just opens up so much in the air raid. So
Do you think that will be consistent across the football team this year? Or do you think that was kind of like, we know we can run on Memphis?
I think it'll be a little bit of both. Like if there's a team we know we can run on, I think we'll definitely just, keep it on the ground. But I think we're going to see it more. And honestly, like just the way we were lining, like our run plays were a little bit different too. They weren't all just like up the middle gap. So, I do think that we'll see a lot more running. I don't think it'll maybe be as much as we did in that game though.
Yeah. We ran a whole lot last year against Kentucky too. And that was one of our most just well put together offensive games. Looking back on it, Rodgers didn't throw for 400; he threw for 300 something. It's like I say it as if that's like a bad thing, but he was like 92% completion rating against Kentucky last year. But we did just add in the run a lot in that game too. So. I expect us to move towards that direction. I think Leach can see it. He sees how that it affects the game. But I will say, watching that game, like our offensive line was dominating Memphis's defensive line. So there was a lot of push there that especially when we got in the red zone, like the 2 touchdowns that Woody Mark scored, which who knew he was going to be playing. Those 2 touchdowns, I feel like Leach kept trying to pass the ball just to get us reps when we were in the red zone, but he knew the whole time that Woody Marks could go get in if he needed to, because our offensive line was moving. Let me talk about another stat of the game that was amazing. That time of possession, bro. That time of possession, we dominated. You alluded to it earlier, but what in the world I feel like we didn't do that last year.
Yeah.
It was
I don't
different.
think we did either. Yeah, I mean, I think we did to some degree because just you're running air raid offense, but definitely not like we did in this game. Like this game, it felt like time of possession was like something that we were we've been practicing and like really studying on how we can like manage that during the game, because that was one thing that you noticed is like Memphis defensive players were getting tired in the first half, because they were on the field the whole time, which kept our defense fresh, which keeps our offense is obviously used to that. That's the way that they're going to run. So. I loved it. I think that's a huge plus to the way that we run our offense. And if we can get these defenses tired, that is ways that we dominate or not dominate, but beat the LSUs and the Georgias or the harder teams we play this year, because we can take them late into the fourth quarter and their guys are going to be putting their hands on their hips and our guys are going to be ready to play. So.
Bro, did Georgia look like the number 1 team in the nation or what this weekend?
Yeah, they look good. I don't really know what else to say about that. I watched that game. I was kind of hoping Oregon would put up a fight, and then
nothing.
I was just really quickly realized that Georgia's the stuff again.
They're so fast. Okay, 2 more things, and we'll end our recap from Memphis and move on to Arizona. But just a statement that I want to put out there is Will Rogers is going to throw for over 5,000 yards this year. We talked about it before on a couple other podcasts, but he's doing it. If he's 450 yards to start the season, and he made it look easy. Like the fact that he was throwing 450 yards, I was kind of shocked that he had that many at the end of the game, because he just made it look so easy. I think there's no question he's throwing for over 5,000.
You just made a great statement a second ago when you said, I mean, he only threw for like 300 in that one game. And so like if we're looking at 300 plus is not a good game for Will, that dude's definitely going for 5,000 this season.
No doubt. Okay, so you may disagree with me here, but here's my hot take from the Memphis game. Hot take is that Jaden Walley is not going to be our guy this season.
I do agree with you there, honestly. Not that he doesn't have the capability.
Right.
There's just some, I mean, rah, man,
goodness.
Fast. He's, Malik Heath was one transfer I was super worried about, because he was a big guy, big presence on the field. We didn't really have that. We didn't have like a Derunya type fast, and Derunya wasn't even that fast, but Malik was, and I feel like Rah is too. But we have that in him, in Rah. And I mean, he is just a big presence, a guy that can catch the football. Then you've got Caleb Ducking that comes in that made some good grabs in the end zone. Same thing with Rufus Harvey. I mean, you just got guys that like I wasn't really expecting to see a lot of. that were not just guys that were catching the football, but the guys that we were going to almost every play. So
Yeah, dude, Caleb Ducking has potential to be something special.
yeah,
He's a big dude, and like that pass that Will put, I mean, he couldn't have put that ball any better on his hands. But at first, I kind of thought he had overthrown it, but I forget Caleb Ducking's 6'5", and that reach is long. And there was no doubt in that pass. It was a touchdown pass. It was just beautiful.
Yes.
But yeah, dude, I think there's so many different just key wide receivers. That depth chart at wide receiver is thick, dude. We've got a lot of players there that can be our guy. Because like you said, Jaden Wiley's got the potential, but so does Rufus Harvey, so does Tulu Griffin, so does Caleb Ducking, Rara Thomas, like, and Austin Williams had one touch this past weekend.
Right.
I had one.
Yeah, it's crazy. And to that point, you were mentioning just the depth and everything. It was something I definitely wanted to mention. We had 12 different players catch the football this weekend, which is crazy. That includes our 2 running backs, but I mean, or the 3 running backs, because we had the freshman Price come in as well. But I mean, still, when you have 12 guys catching the football, I mean, that's crazy. Who do you guard if you're any team? You don't know who to, because we'll just go to somebody else.
That's exactly right. Well, let's transition to the second half of our show and do our Arizona preview. First, let me give a shout out to our new sponsor, maroonandwhitenation.com. Thank you, Fansided and fans who check out our site at maroonandwhitenation.com, where we talk Mississippi State sports, especially for our fans. Okay, so Arizona Wildcats going to Arizona. Everything says weird game. Everything really says like upset, because you go on the road at 10 p.m. Central Time, and it just feels weird. It feels like BYU a few years ago. Like it doesn't feel good. What are your general thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I mean, it's one of those games. It's a weird game. It's a game. If you're gonna get upset by a team this season, this has got the writing on the wall for that to happen. With that being said, I also feel kind of weird about our team right now, in the sense that I don't think we look over this game, and I don't think this is your typical Mississippi State that would go and lose this game that they're supposed to win. I honestly have a lot of faith in the team right now. I think it was just more in that game. I mean, just looking at the discipline of our team was massive to me. Like the penalty, we didn't really commit a lot of stupid penalties.
We didn't have one false start, did we?
I don't think so. No, like those type things, which we would do all the time last year. I think if we can continue that, keep our discipline, we'll dominate these games that we're supposed to win, just like we did against Memphis. I'm not necessarily 100% happy with the Memphis win, but it was a dominating win, and I think we'll do the same thing to Arizona this weekend.
Yeah. So last year, this Arizona team went 1-11 with a win over California. This is a different team. Arizona is one of the schools that went out and got some kids in the transfer portal. I started to look through their depth chart from last year to this year, and the guys who caught passes, threw passes, ran the ball this past week against San Diego State are nowhere to be found on the depth chart from last year. So like they have reloaded their team, and it's different. Now, with that said, Arizona thinks that they're a different team this year too, and they think that they can go out and win some games. San Diego State's not Mississippi State, and I know a lot of people can think, because that's a team that went 12-2 last year, that they're big time, right? Well, I had an opportunity to do a guest post for Arizona's SB Nation site, and I was asked at the end to predict my score and predict the game and who I thought would win and all that stuff. And I predicted Mississippi State to win this game 35-17. And I honestly think I predicted that because of how weird this game has the potential to be. I think we should win this game, no doubt. I think we're the better team. I think our offensive line should be able to shove theirs around just like we did Memphis. So I was kind of giving them some slack in the 35-17. Well, we got a tweet back saying, how's this defense that's ranked number 33 in total defense going to hold this Arizona offense to 17 points? So, Addison, please tell us how this Mississippi State defense is going to hold this Arizona offense to 17 points.
It's going to be what we were talking about earlier. Zach Arnett's going to draw up a defense that they're not ready for at all. And I think once they line up against Nathan Pickering, once they see Tyrus Wheat across the line, once they see Jet calling plays, I think that's going to be a very different mentality very early on for them. I think once we line up across the line of scrimmage on them for one scrimmage, one go at it, when they get their offense out there and we get our defense, I think after that first literally line up, they're going to know that's not. They're not really. He don't know what he's talking about. Is what I'm trying to say, because I really just don't think that the talent's there for them athletically. And I know that we've got better talent, but I really think we'll just also line up and outcoach them. I know Zach Arnett's going to have a great defensive scheme for him. I'm excited to see what he does. And yeah, I mean, our blitz package is so unique that I don't think Arizona is ready for it. I don't think any teams are, but I know Arizona can be. So
yeah. All right. So who's your offensive player of the game this weekend?
I'm going to give it, you know what? I'm just going to give it to the man, Will Rogers. I think that's the easiest answer. But the reason I say that is because if we want to win games this season, then if we want to win a lot of games on the road this season, Will Rogers has got to be a leader, and he's got to get our troops ready on the road at night in a different environment. And so he's got to be the man this weekend, no doubt.
No, I completely agree. I think that this is going to just give us a lot of different looks at Will Rogers going into a weird game, like you said, and it's going to be a test. It's going to be a true test for Will to see how he can lead this team. I'll tell you what, that touchdown pass he made to Caleb Ducking, I sit right before they snapped the ball. I looked at the defense and said, the deep ball's wide open right now. There's no safety in sight. They didn't have anybody back there, and he read it. He knew immediately, and Caleb Ducking just beat one-on-one that receiver, and he did exactly what I called from the beginning. So the fact that he can see it from behind the line and see what we're seeing from above is huge. And if he can continue to do that on the road in a weird game, I agree. He should be our offensive player of the week.
Absolutely.
Defensive player of the week.
I'm going to go with, yet again, I mean, another name here, the man Jet. Last weekend, that guy had 7 solo tackles. He led our team with solo tackles. He had, 13 total that he was combined in, which is just absolutely crazy. I mean, we've got some talent on the team. We've got some talent on the defense, but nothing that's really matching up to that. And you don't really see it a whole lot. Like, he's kind of quiet out there. Yeah. He's not at all, but he is in the way that he just kind of gets his stats up. He's a general. I mean, I love watching him. You know, I always feel like I pick out one guy on the defense that I watch closely. This year it's Jed Johnson, just because he is calling our defense as it's unfolding on the field. And I mean, yeah, I think he's a really intelligent player. You can tell that he kind of knows how the play's going. He is the Will Rogers on the other end. He can see the play kind of unfolding. And he fills the gap when he's supposed to, blitzes when he's supposed to. I just feel like he's just a good linebacker for us, and I'm super, super excited to have him on the team.
Dude, I think you know exactly what I'm talking about here, but how about Jed Johnson rocking Memphis's quarterback that one play when he took off running to try and get the first down?
I love it.
That dude's neck snapped backwards, man. He hit that dude, and Memphis's quarterback Seth Finnegan was trying to order a cheeseburger as soon as he hit that. He rocked him. That was awesome.
Love it. Yeah, you're gonna run your quarterback across the middle, then you're gonna meet Jet. So
who's gonna pay? That was sweet. I love it. Okay, and now just a special, not special teams, but a special player of the week. Who's your X factor? Who makes a difference in this game?
I think I'm gonna go with an offensive player here. I'm gonna stick it on the wide receiver side. I want to see Rod Rogers have another week like he did. I think he's our special player just because 5 receptions. He had the most receptions out of anybody besides our running backs. I think actually Tulu had right at 5 as well, but Rod had 5 for 81 yards, so most yards we had last game. I think he's the man that we'll go to again. And I just want to see that continue. Like I want to, and I might be wrong there. There might be another guy like Caleb Ducking that stands out, which I would love to see. But I think we'll kind of have a really good idea of who our stud receiver is after this weekend. And I would love to see that be Rod just after that first game.
Yeah.
You sent me a text saying he looked like a man amongst boys.
Yeah, he did.
And I could see that on the TV too. So
He's much bigger than a lot of guys out there, and that first touchdown grab was awesome. Davis Wade lost its mind whenever he took off running and broke that
I know
tackle.
it did.
All right, dude. Well, we this is gonna be exciting. Did you ever finalize? Are you going this weekend?
I am. Yes, I am. So I'll be traveling to Arizona. I'm super
Bro, that's
pumped about
awesome.
that.
That's
Yeah.
gonna be a
Hopefully
blast.
we get the win on the road here. I hope I don't make a bad trip. So
Yeah, I hope you don't either. Well, that'd be fun. I'll be texting you. Send me some pictures. That's
we'll,
gonna be a good time.
we'll do
Okay,
it.
so SEC picks. We picked the line last week. We actually tied, and I actually got to the tying point because of our non-SEC game of the week, the Notre Dame Ohio State game. I picked Notre Dame to cover. They did in fact cover. They lost, but they actually put up a fight, which I was surprised about. But this week's just as good as last week, bro. I'm so
Man, it's a great
excited
week.
for SEC football this Saturday. So let's pick the line. We'll start with one of the best games of the week, but has potential to be one of the worst games of the week. Alabama at Texas. And Alabama is favored by 20 points on the road at Texas.
Man, and you know what? I'm taking Alabama to win by more than 20. I do think they win by more than 20. That's tough because they shouldn't. But I'm actually pretty confident in that bet too. I do think they win by at least 3 touchdowns against Texas.
I think it has potential to be one of those games like Georgia, Oregon from this past weekend. So I've also got the Tide to cover that. South Carolina at Arkansas. Arkansas is favored by 8.
I'm gonna be honest. I was a little disappointed in Arkansas against Cincinnati. I felt like they could have done a little bit better. It was like a lot of like just execution issues. Honestly, talent wise, they looked great. And with that being said, I do think South Carolina played a pretty good opener. I didn't get to watch too much of it. But I do think Arkansas, wins by more than 8. I think they cover that. But that's a tough one for me because I could easily see South Carolina, losing that game either tight, by less than a touchdown or at least 7. But I do think Arkansas's got the team to go win that game pretty big, at least by 2 scores.
Yeah, I think I would be doing different if it was at South Carolina and it was the same line. But since it's at Arkansas, I'll also pick Arkansas to win by more than 8. An interesting game here. Wake Forest at Vandy, and the line is 12.5 Wake.
That is interesting. And where is that at? Is that at Vandy?
It's in Nashville. Yeah, it's at Vandy.
That's an interesting line to me. I don't know. I honestly don't know enough about Wake Forest to like really to go in and dive in on like what that score would be. Vandy looked great in that opener against Hawaii, and they've got talent. I mean, that quarterback. I mean, he's one of the fastest guys I've ever seen on a football field. And so, I mean, that's interesting to me. I think Vandy should cover that. I mean, I think that they're better than people give them credit for just because they are the Vandy name. I mean, I'm not saying that they're like the best team in the East or anything by any means, but I do think that they would cover that 12.5 or 12.5 there. Yeah.
Yep, I'm doing the same thing. 3 for 3. Missouri at Kansas State. These are all 11 o'clock ball games, and they're all interesting. Missouri at Kansas State. Kansas State's favored by 7.5.
Missouri covers that.
Nice.
That's all I got to say.
That's the one I want to go against you on, but I'm scared to. I think you're right. I think Missouri probably wins it, to be honest.
I do too. I think they win the game.
Appalachian State, who put up a massive fight against North Carolina, at Texas A&M, and Texas A&M's favored by 19.
I mean, A&M should cover that. I'm going to go with them just because I mean they should win by more than 19 points. I think it'd be kind of crazy if they didn't with the talent that they have. I mean, they should be able to run out there. Honestly, A&M should be able to run out there and just run the football up the middle all game. Because I mean, you're literally talking about 3 of the top 10 recruiting classes back to back there against an Appalachian State team. They shouldn't even be able to step on the field with them, honestly.
Give me App State and then points, boy. Give me App State to cover that 19. I think A&M pulls it out, but I think I'm gonna go App State covering those 19 points.
I would love it if they did.
Tennessee, this is a great game. Tennessee at Pitt, 2:30 game. Tennessee's favored by 6, even though it's on the road at a team that's ranked higher than they are.
This one's very tough. I think it's gonna be a very defensive game. Just after watching that first game with Pitt, there, I do think Tennessee's got a pretty good offense that can put up points. With all that being said, I'm going Tennessee. I mean, I know it's on the road. And you said what was the line? It was
6. It was 1
6.
touchdown.
Yeah, I think Tennessee covers that. I think they win by more than at least 1 touchdown.
This is kind of risky here. I'm going to go Pitt covering the 6 points, but I think Tennessee wins it in a really close game.
Oh, that'd be a good bet for everybody. They win a lot of money if they had that going. So,
Samford at Georgia. We'll both pick Georgia. There's no line.
There you go.
Great game. Number 20 Kentucky at number 12 Florida. Florida's ranked 12 after not being ranked last week, and Florida is favored by 6.
Ooh, this is a really tough game. I don't know how Florida hopped up to number 12. I thought they played good. I didn't know they played that daggum good. But they did look pretty solid. I do think they cover. I think Florida win. In Florida in Death Valley or in the swamp. Sorry, that's a big game for them. They obviously their fan base is super around the team right now. I think they all love Napier. They love their quarterback, love their squad. It's going to be a packed stadium. It's the first SEC game of the year for them. I think they come out and win that game, and I really do think they win it pretty big.
I do too. I think they win it handily. I think they've got momentum on their side right now. So I'll pick Napier and the Gators. Central Arkansas at Ole Miss. There's no line. I guess Ole Miss will win that game.
Probably, maybe.
San Jose State at Auburn, and the line is 23.
I think Auburn covers. They should.
They should cover. Southern, not Southern Miss, but Southern at LSU. There's no line. We would just assume that Brian Kelly could get a win against Southern, right?
Yeah, you would hope so.
And then we've got I've had trouble deciding what game should be our non-SEC game of the week. And so I've picked a random game, but it's a ranked game. Number 9 Baylor at number 21 BYU, and BYU is actually favored by 3.
Oh wow, I'm definitely going with Baylor. I think Baylor wins the game. So
yeah, it's an interest. It's kind of one of those weird games like ours. It's at 9:15, and Baylor's got to go on the road. Vegas knows something. I won it last week with this pick, so give me BYU and the points.
It's funny that you say that because my dad sent me a text last weekend as we were watching football saying, man, Vegas does know something because all of the games were like right on the line. It was crazy.
The Arkansas Cincinnati game, they were favored by 7 and they won by 7.
By 7. Yeah, that's the game he texted me that. So that's literally that's how we got to it's crazy. And just real quick on that, like the LSU game, the over under was 46.5. They ended up scoring 47 points because of that last touchdown. So it's just there's a lot of people that were upset about that. So it's just wild to see Vegas. They do know something.
That is crazy. All right. Game of the week, Mississippi State at Arizona, 10 p.m. kickoff, and we are favored by 10.5 points right now.
I think
give me your score prediction here too.
Yeah, score prediction. I'm gonna say on the road, I think we put up 42. I'm going 42 points again to another. I'm honestly just gonna say same thing I said last week, 42-21. I think that and the reason is because I think that we should go and have good offensive production. Kind of similar. I think that they could kind of score like Memphis did on us kind of at the end there. I hope that that's not the case. I hope we stay tight all game. I'm going to be 100% honest. I don't know who the guy was that made the comment about us not being able to stop them. I think that Memphis has got a better offense than Arizona does. And obviously, the Arizona's got a lot of transfer players, and that's going to be a lot different for them. I think we should be able to hold them to less than 3 scores.
Yeah.
I think we should be able to hold them to less than 20 points, but I will say 42-21 is my prediction. I think we win this game. I think we win it big. We absolutely should if we want to be the team that I think we can be and that we should be this season.
Yeah, I agree. We got to get a win before we go to Death Valley next week and go play at LSU. So my score prediction is gonna be 35-17. I'll also pick the dogs to beat the line here this week. And I think it's in convincing fashion. I think we win handedly and it's not much of a game. All right, that will do it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. We'll be back next Thursday to talk about the Arizona game and to preview the LSU Tigers in the first SEC game of the year. So thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you next week.